Max's The Gilded Age explores the schemes of the Russells and the Van Rhijn-Brooks, two well-known New York families, amid the height of industrial invention and unheard-of capital growth in the United States. The Van Rhijn family, led by the regal matriarch Agnes Christine Baranski, is regarded as old money since they can trace their lineage back to the Mayflower. While Bertha and George Russell are regarded as new money because Mr. Russell's railroad empire has given them the means to acquire a place in an established society. They are the closest Americans have come to being aristocrats. Many long-standing cultural norms were destroyed during the Industrial Revolution that resulted in the wealthy Gilded Age in American history. But not everyone was happy with how quickly these changes were diminishing their sphere of influence. Affluent families such as the Van Rhijns aspired to be gatekeepers, but families such as the Russells merely considered their prejudices outmoded and their attempts to keep them out as a difficulty. Their residences face each other on desirable 61st Street, which exacerbates the social plotting between the Van Rhijns and the Russells and provides enough drama for a potential third season of The Gilded Age. Number 1. Bertha Russell, carried Coon. The saying behind every man is a great woman may have come from Bertha Russell, the family's driven and aspirational matriarch. Though regarded as new money, she set her sights on joining the most exclusive group of socialites in New York City from the minute she moved on to 61st Street and into her completed palace. Mrs. Russell, seeing society as one enormous game of chess, is not immune to the coded subtext that underlies every social encounter and engagement. She is determined to win at any costs, especially when facing opponents such as Agnes Van Rhijn and Mary Astor. Number 2. George Russell, Morgan Spector. George Russell, a captain of industry, is the father of Gladys and Larry, the patriarch of the Russell family and the spouse of Bertha. A railroad tycoon who amassed wealth by moving valuable commodities and resources throughout the nation. His economic savvy is surpassed only by his devotion to his family. Like Mrs. Russell, he takes great pleasure in outwitting his competitors in business and demonstrating his dominance in the fields of venture capital and finance, but underlying his ambitious facade lies a startling romantic. Number 3. Larry Russell, Harry Richardson. Larry Russell is the older brother of Gladys Russell and the son of George and Bertha Russell. While he may not be as adept at navigating society as his parents, he more than makes up for it with his vision. The handsome Russell Hare returns from Harvard with the goal of making a name for himself as an architect and making connections with the right people. He's not as preoccupied with appearances as his parents are, and he's not afraid to make his own way in life, which has led him to pursue Marian Brook and the attractive widow Mrs. Blaine. Number 4. Gladys Russell, Tessa Farmiga. Being the youngest of George and Bertha Russell's children, Gladys Russell has less independence than her older brother Larry. Gladys, who is eager to enter society and socialize with the elite, feels that she is imprisoned in a golden cage and will never be able to make decisions for herself. Gladys views her mother as controlling and uncaring, and she believes she is more in love with her father. Because of her mother's strict regulations, Gladys has considered marrying Oscar Van Rhijn and leaving the house. The Van Rhijn-Brook family tree of the Gilded Age. Number 1. Agnes Van Rhijn, Christine Baranski. Agnes Van Rhijn, also referred to as the haughty Grand Dame of 61 Street and 5th Avenue, has been the matriarch of the Van Rhijn family since the passing of her late husband and rules over its prosperity and good name with might and impunity. She is an enforcer for the old guard and is quite critical of anyone who tries to enter society without abiding by its unwritten standards. She sees the Russell family as a challenge to her authority and legitimacy, in addition to being tawdry. She watches over her niece Marian Brook as she makes her way through the dangerous waters of society, but she is not as sympathetic as her sister Aah Brook. Number 2. Aah Brook. Though she belongs to the old guard, Aah Brook, Agnes' younger sister and Marian Brook's aunt, has a more sympathetic disposition. Serving as the moral compass of the Van Rhijn-Brook family, she has to maintain harmony while Agnes and Marian argue over how to behave correctly in public without gaining a bad image. She aspires to find love someday, but for now she lives vicariously via her niece and the other young ladies who have endless possibilities ahead of them, despite the fact that she has never been married and is viewed as a spinster by the standards of her time. Number 3. Marian Brook. Marian Brook is a recent arrival in New York City, but she already enjoys all the perks of being derived from old money because she is the niece of Agnes Van Rhijn and Aah Brook. Even though she's from old New York, she's motivated to challenge the elite's traditions, especially in her friendship with Peggy Scott and her work as an art instructor. Marian feels that she still has a chance to find love, even though she has had her heart broken, most notably by Mr. Rakes, but a developing relationship with Larry Russell could pose a threat to the dynamic of the Van Rhijn household. Number 4. Oscar Van Rhijn. Oscar Van Rhijn balances his social standing and becoming known as a man about town, even though he is the heir to the Van Rhijn inheritance and Agnes' prodigal son in the Gilded Age. Oscar understands that in order to carry on the Van Rhijn family legacy, he will eventually have to marry a devout woman his mother approves of and start a family. However, in order to achieve this, he will have to hide his sexual orientation and repress his own happiness. He tries to ask Gladys Russell to marry him, but Mr. Russell stops him, so he has to go for another place to get married.